What happens when the ultimate act of love becomes a slow, silent death sentence? This is the haunting question behind the final, most devastating hour of a television masterpiece. Today, we dissect Season 9, Episode 25. The tragic, unforgettable farewell to Edith Bunker. For nearly a decade, Edith stood as the unyielding, submissive anchor of the Bunker household. Her unwavering devotion absorbed Archie's bigotry, transforming verbal abuse into a master class of grace. However, this long-celebrated virtue of extreme self-sacrifice ultimately sets the stage for her physical collapse. The dark prelude begins quietly, inside the sterile walls of a routine medical checkup. A young, sharp physician catches what Archie never could: a heavily guarded, agonizing limp. The diagnosis is uncompromising: acute phlebitis, a severe vascular danger demanding immediate, total bed rest. For anyone else, this is a medical order. For Edith, it feels like a betrayal of her marriage vows. The internal crisis deepens because tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, the high-stakes grand opening of Archie's bar. Archie bursts through the door, his mind completely consumed by financial desperation and dreams of success. He unthinkingly dumps piles of meat on the table, expecting his wife to perform her usual kitchen magic. Here lies the profound tragedy of Archie's love. It is massive, yet utterly blinding. Terrified of crushing his joy, Edith locks her agony away, choosing silence over self-preservation. She tentatively mentions hiring a professional caterer, but Archie immediately scoffs at the added expense. He flatteringly insists that no automated service could ever replicate her dedicated, loving touch. This brief conversation exposes the dark reality of Norman Lear's flawed patriarchal household structure. His selfishness is not driven by malice, but by decades of unchecked social conditioning. Consequently, the warm family kitchen transitions into a silent, isolating chamber of physical torture. As the clock ticks into the next afternoon, we watch Edith battle her own failing body. She limps between the blazing stove and the counter, tears of exhaustion swelling in her eyes. This imagery effectively critiques a bygone era that measured a woman's worth solely by her utility. Yet, her triumph in finishing the massive task only invites a dynamic, fatal escalation. Archie demands she rush to the overcrowded tavern to partition the food for hungry patrons. She bravely attempts to climb the stairs, but her heavily damaged leg finally refuses to cooperate. In a horrifying flash, Edith's physical threshold breaks, and she collapses heavily onto the floor. Raw, unscripted panic shatters Archie's bluster as he drops to his knees beside his weeping wife. The illusion of his invincible domestic sanctuary evaporates, leaving him staring at her mortality. Dr. Shapiro's sudden arrival instantly shifts the episode from a sitcom into a dark medical drama. The physician unleashes a furious scolding, accusing Archie of driving his wife to the absolute brink. Yet, the doctor's anger vanishes upon seeing the profound, terrifying innocence in Archie's eyes. Archie truly did not know, blindfolded by a lifetime of Edith protecting him from reality. This shattering realization introduces the most emotionally devastating scene in American sitcom history. Sitting on the edge of her mattress, Archie strips away decades of his loud defensive armor. In a cracked, weeping voice, he desperately accuses Edith of being incredibly cruel to him. His anger is merely a thin mask for his ultimate terror: being abandoned in a changing world. He tearfully begs her to remember little Stephanie, showing how her sacrifice threatened their survival. He practicalized that her domestic skills are basic, yelling that money could easily purchase cooks and maids. At this precise moment, Edith delivers the quiet, defining thesis statement of the entire series. She softly replies that while others can do the work, they would never do it for him, because, as she reminds him with a tender smile, those strangers do not love him. This single sentence uncovers the raw, unconditional love that sustained their highly volatile marriage. It proves that Archie was never the actual master of the house. He was its most dependent captive. As the final frame approaches, the show employs the classic, deeply nostalgic iris out technique. The black circle tightens around their clasped hands, a visual metaphor for an era's final breath. This farewell left an permanent scar on television history, foreshadowing Edith's heartbreaking, off-screen demise. Too Good Edith stands as a monumental tribute to a generation of women whose power was silent.